SmackDown 131-25, the go-home show to the Royal Rumble. BC's one question, did this show deliver or did it disappoint? 3 hours of SmackDown. That's exactly what we need. Said nobody ever. 3 hours of SmackDown not needed. 3 hours of Raw not needed. 2 hours of Raw probably not needed. 1 hour of Raw is a chore to get through. But this is what we got last night. 3 hours of SmackDown. A lot of individuals calling this the real start of the WrestleMania season tonight for the Rumble. The truth is, the start of WrestleMania season was Saturday night's main event. It just didn't feel that way because creative, the general feeling coming out of that show was subpar, mid-AF. Like everybody either didn't care or forgot it was Mania coming up. So tonight there is no mulligans. Tonight Hunter Helmsley and WWE has to bring their A triple plus game. Do they have that in their arsenal? We shall see. Now, clearly, we are out in the world smashing out some business, so this will be old school podcast audio format only. But the good news is, later tonight for the Rumble, BC hopes to be live on the channel for a live watch-along reaction and review. So make sure you stop by the channel, say what's up to BC and the Amplified unit, throw up your coffees, we'll give a salute, chuck a coffee at the channel, if you so wish, desire, but we will absolutely, that's the hope anyway, we can do a live watch-along review of the Royal Rumble because that's one of the funnest streams we do every year. When that clock hits zero and the buzzard sounds off, whether it's the women or the dudes, every entrant coming out, man, there's so much fun on the channel. I really would like to do that tonight. So if you have the big event on the big screen, make sure you pop up BC on the laptop or maybe on the phone, but have another screen where BC's rocking with you because I'm going to have a lot to say about this show, man. I'm not giving any mulligans. I feel like Mania season, we should have already been feeling that, and I don't think that we are right now. So that's why there's even more pressure on tonight's Rumble to deliver. You know, will the Rumble deliver or disappoint? That's the question going into it, and that's what we're going to answer live tonight, hopefully. So stop by the channel. But that's also a question I'm asking for last night's SmackDown. Did this show deliver or disappoint? The good news is I've already done my due diligence. I've done my notes. I've watched it from top to bottom, all 3 hours. We should be getting awards for this, guys. For any of you that make it through 3 hours of World Wrestling Entertainment, any of their shows, we all deserve awards, or we deserve it. We deserve it. All right, clearly BC's on like his 10th cup of coffee already this early. 2.5 hours in the gym. We're fully amplified. Let's get this going, man. All right, let's kick this off. I only got about a half an hour to cut this review. But you know, when the coffee is flowing and we're talking pro wrestling, a half an hour can turn into 3 hours, which would probably be more entertaining than 3 hours from this company. But let's see what they did last night, man. The show starts with Michael Cole. Right there, you know we're going to have one of the best shows in the world, man. Michael Cole's kicking us off. He's up at the little podium, like near the top of the ramp, because the actual commentary team is Wade and Joe Tessitore, but they're trying to give you like a little bit of a Rumble feel already. So Michael Cole's at the top of the ramp at that little podium, and he introduces Pat McAfee. Mac goes on a 5-minute spiel about how great Indianapolis is, because of course that's where they were last night, that's where they'll be tonight. So Mac is just going off, popping off about Indianapolis. I have no problem with that. My one question is this, guys, and maybe it's a hot take, but it should be. It's an honest question, because for those veteran subscribers out there, you know how much I respect Pat, and I show him the utmost support when I am in the studio. And even when I'm conducting business and I can't really watch one of the monitors or the TVs, I'll always have ESPN's Pat McAfee on in the background so he can get the viewership and ad revenue from whatever ESPN is. But you know what I mean? I want to raise those numbers for Pat. So that's how much I do respect the dude, and I try to support. But my question would be, how much longer is this company going to treat McAfee like the messiah of the company? Right? Like how... I understand the last couple of years, Pat McAfee has been just a game changer in the sports world. I get that the last couple of years. So I understand moving mountains to try to have Pat on your show. But I just feel like now... it's getting a little, like when I start agreeing with Corey Graves a little bit, that's when you know there's an issue. Like, Corey he's going to get booted every single time Pat McAfee has an opening in his schedule. And we're going to get the 3-minute Pat McAfee introduction every time he's available. We're going to get Pat McAfee just in all his sound bites when he's on commentary. He just says the same things over and over. He yeets for 10 minutes every single Monday or whenever he's on. He screams, "One big son of a bitch!" for Braun Strowman and a few other sound bites. But that's it. I'm just saying, man, at what point can we just tone down the McAfee is Messiah rhetoric? I think we're past that. Right now we can just get to, hey, it's Pat, cool. Let's move on, everybody. I'm just saying, man. Much love and respect over to Pat McAfee, but we don't have to just go above and beyond like it's the biggest. Okay, we're starting to see the dude a lot more every time he has an opening, so it's not that big. I mean, are people really showing up to these WWE events and really popping off because Pat McAfee's coming through the curtain? All right, let's move on. So Michael Cole introduces Pat McAfee. Then we just go to, that was it. Pat just talks up Indianapolis for 5 minutes on live television to the rest of us. And then we go to Joe Tessitore, who's in the middle of the ring. He introduces Kevin Owens. Owens is kind of pissed off because Tessitore interviewed Cody last week and quote, forgot about Owens. So Tessitore's, I don't think he's apologizing, but he's like, I wanted to give you this time. So Kevin Owens, wants the apology. So he's like, what are you, a tough guy? And Joe Tessitore's like, no, I think I'm what do you say, 53 or 58? It's a big difference, I know, but it was one of those numbers. But he's like, I think I'm a 53-year-old commentator. That's all I am, not a tough guy. So Kevin is kind of berating him a little bit. CM Punk, look in my eyes, what do you see? CM Punk comes through the curtain, not really to save Joe Tessitore. I never thought that Owens was going to deck him, but Punk wants to have some words with Owens. This is an interesting dynamic. If you know, you know, and I'll touch up on that in a second with what Owens said to Punk. But first, let's start from the jump. So Punk comes out. Punk looks right at Owens and says, if you beat a very angry Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble, and not if, but when I win the Royal Rumble, it will then be you and I in the main event of WrestleMania. Owens responds, there's 29 other guys in that Royal Rumble, and by the way, I like every single one of them more than you. And keep in mind, I don't even know everyone in the Rumble. So that's saying something, end quote. That was Owens saying, all 29 dudes who I don't even know who's in there right now, but I can guarantee I like them all more than you. I just thought that was such a good line because, again, as I just previously mentioned a minute ago, if you know, you know. This was a good line because it plays off real heat between the two, backstage, behind the scenes, IRL. Of course, Owens is good friends with AEW execs Young Bucks. Punk, not so much at all. In fact, the AEW in totality, Punk is, let's just say, a little bit of separation of state there. Owens is good friends with a lot of those individuals backstage in AEW, and again, probably none more so than the Bucks. So this was just really like Owens went right to just how much he just doesn't like CM Punk. Punk's just trying to set up this Mania match and say, hey, it could be us for the title. Owens is like, dude, I don't even like you. So this was good. They had a little bit more of a back and forth. And then it ended with Punk just saying, dude, it could be clobbering time now. Let's rock right now if you want to fight. And Kevin Owens just takes off. He retreats. He just smirks. I'm like, dude, stop. Right now, Cody. But if you want to plant the seeds for that, I'll make sure that tree grows. But that's the end of the segment, 20 minutes in. So, no real reason for this other than to fill time. Or, this is all I can think of, guys. The only other thing is this is Hunter Hearst Helmsley just trying to cover his ass with a plan B, C, or even D. Right? Because all I can think of is they set up Monday perfectly, Punk versus Cody. So if they don't decide to do that, say The Rock decides last minute like he always does, that he wants to face Cody. Or maybe Hunter, like he always does, changes things last minute as well, and he wants to go Randy versus Cody. Teacher-student. Legacy implodes. So if they go a different route with Cody, this just seemed like it's a backup plan in their back pocket. Punk versus Owens. They're just keeping that on the table. The only other thing I can think of, again, A, this was just filler with no purpose. B, this was just a backup plan in case The Rock changes plans or Hunter wants to change things up or just doesn't know what he's doing anyway, like last year's Rumble when he admitted he had no idea what was going on even after the Rumble for WrestleMania. That's the only two things. The third thing I could possibly think of is they're going to try to make this like a triple threat or a fatal four. So you have Punk, Owens, Cody, and maybe even you throw in a Randy Orton, who I would guess would be involved in tonight's ladder match, correct? Whether he's taking out Cody or Kevin Owens. I think Randy would show up tonight. Do they try to throw Punk and Randy into this nonstop Cody KO feud, which is just them brawling every week, every show? So that's the only other option. It's either a triple threat or a fatal four, or this is just a backup plan for Mania, just in case for Punk and Owens, or this was just filler with no purpose. That's it, guys. That's all I can conclude from this weird interaction with Owens and Punk and why Punk would even show up on SmackDown just to confront Calvin Owens. Because Calvin has his own problems, damn it. He's doing his own thing. Punk just wants to get in everybody's face. Listen, not bad per se. It's just, again, when it doesn't feel like it has purpose, it just comes off kind of odd. And again, that took up about 20 minutes of the start of this program. Now, I'd rather that than just throwing us into a match, guys. Like, welcome everyone to SmackDown. Here comes Jim Uso and Mello Hayes. One-on-one. No, thank you. Just give me some talking on the mic. Let me try to get invested into a story. First matchup of the night was just that. Jimmy Uso. Big Jim! They didn't call him that much last night, man. Did you notice? BC went on that whole rant last week, and they kind of dimmed it down. That was good to see, good to hear. He did have some merch that already says Big Jim. I did question that last week. I said, how many people, grown adults anyway, are running out, or when they go to the arenas, are they getting Big Jim shirts? But maybe. I don't know, man. But Jim Uso last night taking on Mello Hayes. He defeats Mello Hayes too. Jimmy Uso defeats Mello Hayes via a fruit roll-up. The fruit roll-up. If you're new to the channel, I call any hold-em downs roll-ups. So it's not a traditional maybe school, the schoolboy cradle or just the traditional roll-up. Anytime you don't do a finisher move or you didn't rock or knock out your opponent with any type of move, you're just rolling them up, or you're just holding them down. I call them, that all goes into the roll-up category. So that's what I mean by roll-up, guys. You're just kind of holding their shoulders down. Or you have their legs over their heads, so they're like a wrapped-up turtle, and they just can't get up. I always think too many of those are just bogus, man. These are pro wrestlers. They're going to be able to get one of their shoulders a centimeter off the canvas. You're not going to hold them down for 3 seconds. Stop it. But this was a roll-up. Mello is a much smaller wrestler. If you ever see Mello up with any other wrestler, guys, if it's not like a Rey Mysterio or Hornswoggle, Mello is a very small dude. You didn't really notice that in NXT, but you really notice it here. I mean, even Jim Uso looks so much bigger than Mello. So, I'm not totally going to slam this. He held Mello down, rolled him up. I think he even had some tights. Because in the earlier, like a few seconds earlier, Mello tried to do that to Jim Uso. So I think there was some tights, but anyway, fruit roll-up. This was a 10-minute match. The crowd could not care less about this match. The whole match, they were just kind of sitting on their thumbs like, they probably were enjoying it, not captivated by it, but they were enjoying wrestling maybe. It just came across like they couldn't They couldn't care less, but it was actually not bad at all, this match. 10 minutes in length, and because the first hour was commercial-free, the flow was never broken. So that's what maybe I was able to really get invested in it more because there was no commercials. Shows you how much commercials really ruin the pacing and the flow for fans, let alone the wrestlers themselves. Now, Uso continues with his momentum with this W. Melo continues to miss. That's all I'll say about that. Moving on, Chelsea Green versus Michin again. Now, if you didn't see this show, you're like, there's no way they wrestled again, BC. That we've already seen them 86 times. No, this is one of those many scenarios where Helmsley has no idea how to create an interesting multi-month story for these two. So he just has them wrestle nonstop, rematch after rematch. The problem is that's not a storyline. That's just called repetitive. Think about it, guys. 2 months ago, they had a dumpster match. A gimmick match like that should be a culmination of a feud, not the start of a feud. Logic and common sense. I guess the old saying is true. Common sense ain't so common. We start off with a dumpster match, and then they've been wrestling and bickering ever since. Anyway, you got it again last night, guys. Michin defeats your U.S. champion via DQ after Chelsea uses a kendo stick. Post-match, Michin gains control of the kendo stick and goes on the offense, whacking away at Chelsea with the kendo stick. Chelsea retreats. We end the segment. So your U.S. champion got beat. Your U.S. champion was then beaten after the match, and then your U.S. champion ran away. Now, I know we all have different ways on how we would book our champions, heel or face. That's probably not the way BC would go about business. Helmsley's too busy writing his Hall of Fame speech. So he didn't have time to think about this. Also, as I put in my notes, guys, literally nothing progressed here and nothing was accomplished. That's the biggest issue I have. If you're going to do this rematch for the 5th time or whatever, just have something creative. Plan something, man. Make it fun for the fans and make it worth the while of your talent. But just having Chelsea lose and get beaten and run away, I mean, this is still 50-50 booking. Nobody is talking about how epic Chelsea and Michin was last night, or the trajectory of what happened last night, what it does for their character development. Nobody's talking about that. That's the problem. Nothing was progressed and nothing was accomplished with this Michin-Chelsea Green match, and that's a running theme in this company. And hour one ends with a Charlie Flair video package. Flair is riding around in like a Corvette, some type of convertible, I believe. Yeah, because her locks were flowing in the breeze. She was giving a smolder look. And Charlie Flair, Charlotte says the following. This is a quote. "All the talk is true. I am selfish. I am greedy. Why wouldn't I be? I am the best." End quote. And BC was like WTF personified, man. This is an interesting way to go for the E. To bring her back this way. But then I subsequently thought, maybe this is WWE, Hunter Helmsley, accepting the inevitable. And what I mean by that is if you guys see Charlie come back every time she's on hiatus, she gets an initial pop, right? There's a lot of fans, Charlie! And they pop, okay. You think, oh boy, okay, maybe it's different this time. She's going to be a big face. People are going to care this time. And guys, within just a week or two, or her just being on the microphone, forget a match, fans are already kind of bored and moved on. Like, oh yeah, it's just Charlotte. No matter how many champions they have given her, or she has earned, whichever way you want to look at it, but 14 within 10 years when somebody like Naomi has 2. I mean, come on, guys. That's the company absolutely giving one of these females an absolute mega rocket, and the other one like, maybe once in a while. If you're in your hometown, no, we'll throw you a championship. That's those scenarios that makes you go, wait, Charlotte isn't that much better if even than Naomi, bro. Athletically, I even say Naomi is more athletic. Both on the microphone need a lot of work. But Charlie Flair, she comes back, she gets some hoopla that first week, and then all of a sudden the fans start to go, I'm all set. And then Charlie notices it, And if you notice, it happens all the time. She starts talking like a heel. It's not in the script. It's not what Hunter wants, or back when VKM was running. It's not what they want, but it's natural for her, right? She goes in kind of defense mode. So her promo that's supposed to be a face, but the crowd is not reacting like she would hope, then she turns heel, and she starts to get that kind of, it's egotistical promoing, but it's from self-esteem or lack thereof it. I hope that makes sense. That's like her natural wall that she puts up, her self-defense mechanism. So if she thinks people are like, booing her or just not having what she's saying, she will start to just turn into that heel. It's like a natural thing with her. And that's why I always say she's better suited to be a heel, because her face runs don't last. That's why Charlie Flair has been a face and a heel 87 times. She's up there with like The Big Show or Kane for how many times they have turned face and heel. And Charlotte Flair is up there with those names because it just doesn't work, everything they are trying. There's just a lack, and I don't even know exactly what it is. I know her booking needs to be different. Instead of throwing her into championships all the time right when she comes back, or Royal Rumble victories and all these big limelighted spots, WrestleMania main events, whatever it is, instead of doing that, just put her in really good storylines, and let's build to that. Let the fans naturally flock to her instead of forcing it. And that's the best advice I could give, but they don't do that. Every time she comes back, it's right to a Rumble victory or a championship match or a championship victory, and the fans see right through that. And there's this lack of connection with Charlie Flair with the majority of the audience. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I know it needs to be changed, right? Just take it back a few steps. Let her truly earn those championships. She's got 14 of them. And a lot of fans are like, this is so stupid. It's just to like tie and eventually beat her father's record. And that sucks to say, because there should be merit, no question. There should absolutely be merit into it. And she busts her ass, and she is really good. But when you just get 14 titles in 10 years and the fans are not anointing you as the one, yeah, that's a problem, man. That shows you that the company is fully behind you. But maybe not the fans. I'm trying to be the utmost respectful about it, because she busts her ass, she really does. But without that connection, man, for a lot of us fans, it gets old. It really does. And you just see her come back, and she just gets thrusted into all the main events and all the titles, and it's just old. I mean, that's as honest as I can be, man. A lot of people feeling that way. If you're a Charlie fan, you're enjoying all the titles, right? It's like if you're a Chiefs fan, right? This is coming from a Packers fan. But if you're a Chiefs fan, you've been loving the last several years, man. You're about to get a third one. Third Super Bowl. For everyone else, it's like, damn, man, this is old. All right, so let's move on, man. That's how hour one ended. Charlie Flair and her, whatever it was, convertible, talking about how she is selfish, she is greedy, and she can be, and she should be, because she's the best. I couldn't believe she cut that. She cut a heel promo already, probably already knowing that in a few weeks after she returns, the reception is going to go back to a 2. Speaking of 2, hour number 2. Damian Priest starts hour 2. Good promo, talking about how Raw he was trying to make a name for himself. But on SmackDown, it's all about championships. And it starts at the Rumble, where, and I quote, he'll be throwing 29 asses over the top rope. Out comes Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonka Truck. Fatu had a great line here, because he's trying to tell him that he's the alpha on SmackDown, not Priest. And Fatu says, even though, he goes, you can braid your hair all you want, but don't get it twisted. I like that. Probably went right past a lot of you guys, right? I caught that line, because they both have their hair braided. So he even pointed to his own hair, and he goes, you can braid your hair all you want, but don't get it twisted. I'm running SmackDown. I thought that was a good line. Fatu and Priest end up battling. The numbers work against Priest clearly with Fatu and Tama Tonka Truck. So out comes L.A. Knight. Yeah! For the save, a tag match is set for later in hour 3. Next up, MCMG, and I believe Humberto and Garza. I was so checked out. I can't stand multi-dudes schmaz matches, especially meaningless ones that have no purpose whatsoever. So I think it was Humberto and Garza, but I thought they were heels, but here they are with MCMG, which are faces, so I guess they are faces. That shows you how checked out I am on the non-existent tag team division. But they defeat DIY in Pretty Lively. Sabian pins Tommaso via fruit roll-up, hold him down pinfall. Less than an hour before, we already saw the hold him down fruit roll-up. Mello with the roll-up on... Or no, Jim Uso with the roll-up on Mello. So this is the same exact type of... Yeah, this is the same finish. I mean, you have to, and if I could put this in capitals any more than I could, then I would. But you have to get creative. If you're Hunter Helmsley, that's not a request given his job title. It's literally a prerequisite. You have to be creative. It's the same finish we just saw with another match. And then it's announced DIY will face Motor City at the Royal Rumble in a 2 out of 3 fall match. Not sure why we need to see this, and here's a suggestion to the aforementioned Hunter Helmsley. Maybe if you're going to have a PPV PLE match, don't have them face each other a bunch of times beforehand, bro. We've already seen MCMG and DIY and any other acronym or initials you want to throw in there. We've already seen this match. 2-on-2, 8-man tags. And this is the problem with trying to fit all these last-minute matches because there was no thought put into Saturday night's main event. A week away from the Rumble, mind you. 2 big events. And we were rushing matches to Saturday night's main event. And here we are at the Rumble. And we find out we're getting 2 out of 3 falls with these teams. Guys, it's the Rumble. I'm going to waste a half an hour on this? And you say, well, BC, you always say the tag team title should be on PLEs. Yes, that much I absolutely will say correct. And I stand behind that always. But damn, can we get to it creatively? Make me want to see MCMG and DIY. That's what we always did in pro wrestling. You would build a proper storyline that would captivate you to the point where you would have to whip out the wallet and say, which credit card do you want? Or beg mom and dad to get the PPV, the pay-per-view, because you had to see the match. The story was so good, you got to see these dudes or these gals get it on. Let's rock. They got to fight now. Got to have the match. But if you just throw in a match we've already seen so many different ways, I don't know how many people are going, wow, I can't wait to see this. 2 out of 3 falls. Yeah, that's Hunter going, damn, I really have nothing for this. So let's just extend this match longer. Let's give you 2 out of 3. So it's like 2 matches in one. I don't know, man. I'm not looking for... if I am able to be live with you guys tonight, I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to make a cup of coffee during this match or 10 cups of coffee. There you go. I'll bring the whole coffee machine with me. All right. That's what I got for this 8-man tag. This was just so boring. Hour 2 ends and hour 3 begins with Naomi pinning Liv Morgan via hold 'em down, roll up, pinfall. Sound familiar? It's the same finish as the match right before, guys. And for those keeping track with your Steiner math, it's the 3rd hold 'em down / roll up of the night. The 3rd of the night. And we had just started hour 3. Post-match, the same repetitive BS. The loser beats up the winner, right? Naomi pins Morgan, and then Morgan just attacks Naomi with Raquel. So that's what I mean about Hunter not even wanting to get creative. You'll win, and you'll win via the roll-up, so it doesn't look decisive, right? Liv gets to save face. But then afterwards, because you lost, beat up the winner. And then people will just forget about the match in the finish anyway, because you'll look like you're standing tall. It'll look like you won. That only works if you keep it special. Not every match does the loser attack the winner and you just call it a wash. Everybody was 50-50 booked in this one. Everybody was saved. Hey, maybe, you know what else happened? Nothing was special. Nothing was memorable. Nobody progressed. character trajectory, storyline trajectory, nothing progresses. When you 50-50 book like this, everything stays stagnant. Listen to BC. I know this industry. Oh my goodness, common sense. I wish it was more common. At this point, even though, and I want to, this is important to know because even though it sounds like this was an easily skippable show, and it was, if you miss a show like this, you miss nothing. You could listen to BC's review and get everything you needed and save yourself plenty of time. But I will say this, at this point, even though there was nothing big or special that happened in the first 2 hours of the show, and despite the repetitive finishes and meaningless matches, the show wasn't necessarily bad. It certainly wasn't good either, but it was at least watchable. Exciting? No. Interesting? Hardly. But watchable. But it was the start of the third hour, as Miz and Andrade were about to have their match, where I finally felt the 3-hour fatigue set in. And I got the same thing last week. It was right before the third hour. LA Knight was in this matchup. I forgot with who. Maybe it was Tama Tonka Truck. I forget. But I thought, thank goodness it's the main event. We can get this show over with. And then it dawned on me, no, it's no longer 2 hours, BC. It's 3 hours. This is not the main event. It's the middle of the show. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, like, wow, that fatigue set in last week at about an hour and 48 minutes into the show. Here we are just over 2 hours, and guys, I hit the wall. I was like, come on, man. We're another hour of this. If the show was like off the charts, banging out, yeah, right? We want more. The 3 hours would have flew by. We'd be asking for more hours of SmackDown. But because it's such a chore to get through, and because, you're starting to stir, and it's Miz and Andrade, man. Like if you think BC is over there going, oh man, Miz and Andrade, I gotta get a fresh cup of coffee for this one. No. So that's when the fatigue, it was at least watchable up until that point. Maybe because it was the Rumble, and even though the creative was non-existent, and the matches and the finishes were just so repetitive and not good. Maybe it was the feeling that made it watchable. But it was that top of the third hour where I was like, yup, no, I can't, oh, fuck. But we did it, guys. We did it. If you're wondering, Andrade pinned Miz, not with the roll-up. They actually had a move, man. He actually took his opponent out with a move for a 1-2-3. Well, that's different in WWE. You sure Hunter approved this? He was doing his Hall of Fame speech. Andrade pins Miz with a discus elbow, that back elbow. So a decisive victory for Andrade. Tiffany Stratton promo followed. Tiffany Stratton looking like a $1 billion plus. I mean, just beauty on top of beauty. She's out there with, who was interviewed? Pat McAfee and Michael Cole, I believe. So they're trying to make that feel special. And then Candy LeRae comes out. Candy LeRae declares herself for the Royal Rumble. I mean, yay! Woo! Party! Did you guys hear the news? Breaking news. Candy LeRae's in the Rumble. And then Nia Jax ends up squashing them both. Inadvertently squashes Candy. And then they both double team. Once she's able to, Nia Jax then took out Stratton somehow. Yeah, how did that happen? Candy must have really no-sold the squashing then, or at least just sold it for like 4 or 5 seconds. Because Tiffany moved, Nia squashed Candy, and then Tiffany took out Nia, but then Candy came right back and took out Tiffany for Nia. So then they double-teamed Tiffany, and then Tiffany got squashed. I hope that makes sense. So the bottom line is Nia Jax stood tall. That's all I got for you. There was nothing got progressed here. That didn't make anybody need to see Tiffany and Nia Jax anymore. And Candy LeRae declaring herself for the Rumble could have just been something that she tweeted out or X'd out. You know what I mean? That doesn't even have to be on the show, man. And then the main event was Priest and Knight defeating Fatu and Tama Tonka Truck. Priest pins Tonga with South of Heaven finish. With a South of Heaven finish, I should say. Obviously, Fatu was not going to lose this looking up at the lights, but he did lose. That is true. And he did lose, I believe he lost the Saturday night's main event. Didn't he lose against Braun Strowman? Now, afterwards, they made Fatu look like a beast, beating down Braun Strowman. But he still lost. I think he got himself disqualified. But still, the books are going to show that. But I have no problem with it. He's still looking dominant. In fact, that's what they tried to do again here, and this is what I mean. It has to feel special. You have to do this sporadically, not all the time. Because after Priest won this match, Fatu ends up dropping them, him and Knight. And that's how we abruptly go off the air. Fatu just jumps back in the ring, takes out the faces, and we go off the air. So there was definitely a time management issue. And it looks so weird. Like, Fatu was no-selling. Fatu's out there acting like he's knocked out for enough time for Tonka Truck to get beat, and then he just jumps in the ring, takes out the faces, and we go, good night, everybody. Like, work your finishes out better. That's your whole thing. We're going to have Fatu lose, but don't worry, you're going to look dominant when it's said and done. Well, not if you have time management issues, not if you didn't plan this out correctly. Fatu's going to get in there for about 5 seconds. He's not going to dominate anybody. He's just going to take an L with his partner. So the bloodline sinks even further in relevance. They were already kind of being forgotten about or laughed at. Like, oh, come on, the bootleg bloodline is nothing these days. Well, last night did not help that cause at all. Again, what made this even semi-watchable, this show, guys, was because I believe Rumble is tonight, and there was that feeling of it, right? So there was a little extra feeling that it was special, I guess, right? You got Michael Cole up at the top of the ramp with a separate little commentary booth, or at least a little podium with Pat Mack. The in-ring interviews with Joe Tess and Michael Cole. Little things like that made it semi-watchable, but you cannot possibly keep this at 3 hours, and thank goodness that SmackDown is going to 2 hours. We believe in like June, I believe is what we're hearing. But anyway, guys, that's what I got for you, man. I already went over my allotted time for this review. I got business to conduct. I hope to be live with you guys. It's the Rumble, man. It's Mania season. It is. It already is. It's not starting tonight. It should have already been because it is. This is just where Hunter has no choice now. You are the chief content officer. It all goes on you. You're taking all the credit. You're enjoying the spotlight. That's awesome. Now you have to actually do the job. You actually have to do what your title says. Get creative and be the chief of this, man. Like, produce a card tonight in a show where we are all going, oh, here we go, bro. Now it feels like Mania season. Tonight should not be a chore. It's the Rumble. Usually it's fun. 2 Rumble matches. 60 times we're going to hear that buzzer, or at least, well, the first 2. So it'd be, what would that be? 56 times we're going to hear that buzzer. And should be a lot of fun. BC hopes to be live with you guys. Stop by the channel, say what's up, have a coffee, and let's rock this out, man. That's your SmackDown review amplified. BC's going to go rock out. 44 dive. That's a wrap. BC in the unit saying check you. Salut.